we are talking a lot about energy efficiency, specifically a topic in the Middle East, of course, but we are also seeing a couple of missing links from an industry perspective. I would like to very quickly go through the most important key points here. Our industry is providing indoor climate, process cooling, industrial ventilation, food cold chain. Why is this so critical? It's very simple. Without comfort in our office buildings, not much would be going on. IT cooling. No data centers, critical nowadays, specifically for all aspects of life. We are needed in manufacturing process from the oil and gas sector to pharmaceuticals. It's needed in food safety to keep preserved food, to ensure that the food is healthy. And we cannot imagine a hospital without a decent air filtration and ventilation system not becoming a graveyard for the patients. So I believe it indicates why this industry is really relevant. There is no modern-day society imaginable without heating, ventilation, refrigeration, and air conditioning. But it's also critical from another perspective. We know that in the region, up to 80% of a building's energy consumption is going to the space cooling, which makes for an overall consumption usually of more than 50% for a nation what we spend and invest into cooling and refrigeration. Now, if you're a country which is rich on oil and gas, that might be not such a big problem, but if you're a country without that, which faces net energy imports, that clearly becomes a risk. And we believe that energy efficiency for that matter is a matter of national security and should be treated like that. We have seen significant advancements in technology over the past decades. For example, IT cooling, as I mentioned before. In around 2000, we operated in a corridor between 14 degrees supply air temperature and 26 degrees return air. 22 years later, nowadays, we can manage between 26 and 38 degrees, which is a huge improvement. Thanks to the introduction of air management infrastructure, the ASHRAE Technical Committee guidance, we have now a much more increased potential for free cooling, also in the Middle East. CO2 systems for supermarkets, refrigeration cycles. 10 years ago, it was assumed this is not applicable for hot and humid climates. It was seen as too risky. Now we are seeing the first couple of supermarkets run on CO2 as refrigerant. It's natural refrigerant, is very efficient, and has a very low global warming potential. Variability. The introduction of inverters, variable speed, variable frequency drives, variable refrigerant flows systems have allowed us now to operate cooling systems based on seasonal requirements, based on seasonal demands. Along with state-of-the-art building management systems and smart controls, we are now able to run and operate cooling systems almost at half the energy costs as before. Also, the regulatory frameworks in the region are adjusting. We have seen the introduction of seasonal efficiency regulations, which make much more sense, which get much more closer to the reality. We appreciate the introduction of minimum efficiency performance regulations. And we are also happy to learn that Saudi Arabia, for example, is working or studying the first technical regulation for our ventilation equipment. So far, the Middle East usually only knows regulations on the air conditioning side. We still ignore a lot of segments in the refrigeration part, but also in the ventilation part. However, this is a quote from the study by the International Energy Agency, The Future of Cooling. The problem is today's consumers are not buying the most efficient ACs. The average efficiency of air conditioners sold today is less than half of what is typically available in the supermarkets on the shelves, and a third of what would be available. So why is the technology there? Why is it not used? There is, first and foremost, a big price paradox. The CapEx mindset. What does it cost me when I buy it? The people do not think about the operational side of the equation. We have to change the mindset from capital investment to operational expenses, the total cost of ownership. I have a very simple example here. We have two different kinds of air filters. The one on the left is a regular EPM 2.5 50% filter. That means it takes out 50% of particles the size of 2.5 microns. Energy class E consumes 1,900 kilowatt hours. It's cheaper than the other one. EPM 1 is 60%, which means 60% of particles less than half the size of the other one are filtered out. Energy class A+ only consumes 838 kilowatt hours. Just because the second one is slightly more expensive, it's not very popular, or it's not as popular as it should be in the market. While you would save more energy within a few 2-3 months to already recuperate the investment costs. So we have to work a lot on awareness and changing mindsets from this capital investment thinking to an operational total cost of ownership, life cycle cost calculation. How can we improve? We estimate from our members, we estimate that we have a potential of reducing energy consumption by 40% if we would achieve to bring better equipment into the buildings with better designs. We could improve by 15% if the installation process is done with more care and with more skills and more professionalism, reducing energy losses by air leakages in the ducts, for example, and other measures. Operation, 20% down by installing better controls, or as I would say, just closing doors. How many buildings do you pass every day where you are freezing when you pass them because the door is open and the whole cooling load is lost on the roads? Installing air curtains could be a solution for that. Maintenance, from this aspect, we know it. With proper maintenance, regular preventive maintenance, we can achieve a minimum of 25% already today without even doing anything, without any retrofit, just cleaning them and making sure they operate accordingly. What is needed? We have to invest in education and training, and I believe for us is the first priority we have to look into. We have to qualify people. We have to ensure that no maintenance crew is touching an HVAC system which is not qualified to touch it, which doesn't know what and how to maintain it. We need to also provide continued education for consulting engineers, make them more aware about the products and the technology which are available today. I can announce right now that Eurovent Middle East is working to provide such content and such a program in the near future. We want to launch it in the next half year, roll it out, a program where we can approach consultants, invite them to us, and give them an education on the technologies, on the products, on the systems which we have in the market right now. Mandatory building inspection would be a suggestion Eurovent Middle East is offering to governments. Have a look into this position paper and consider that. Mandatory building inspection would look into, is the HS system working? Is it maintained correctly? Is fresh air supplied? Are air filters removed, replaced regularly? Which refrigerants are in use? It's a lot about data collection as well, and how are the people treating with these refrigerants. The assessment of maintenance documentation and the operation guidelines in a building is essential. That the people who are sitting in the building, who should be operating them, that they are also trained and have the qualification to do that. Assessment of the operational safety environment. We do see a lot of accidents happen when it comes to the maintenance of HVAC systems. They are unnecessary. And what would we get if we would introduce such a regime? If you would perhaps just once in 5 years send an inspection team and check on that, we would have a significant reduction in energy consumption immediately, because the pressure on the operators is rising. We would professionalize the whole facility management. industry. We would provide better indoor air quality for the population, reducing respiratory illnesses, easing allergies, and other serious diseases. We would reduce the fire and safety hazards, support education and training of a lot of people, from the operators to the maintenance crews to the installers, etc. And we would strengthen the economy. On the regulatory side, we also need to see to develop and to improve further. We need to look in building codes specifically. We need to see where are the regulations which are touching the subject of HVAC. It's not always the technical regulations. It's not always on the product side. We need to see building codes. What do we mandate? Do we mandate energy recovery in buildings, so that no cool air is lost anymore in the future, that the energy we put into cold air is recuperated? We need to look in labor laws, business laws, requiring mandate qualification for certain operations. Before you take a business license as a specialist, as an installer or something, you need to provide proof that you're qualified for it. Actively qualify. Do whatever you can to qualify people. Cooperate with whoever you find, but qualify the people. Offer education. We, as an Eurovent Middle East, think that it actually deserves an HVAC ministry. A ministry which is just there to look into how can we improve the situation. Of course, it's not meant literally, but there is, from Ministry of Education to Ministry of Health, Infrastructure, Energy, Public Works, almost all ministries are somehow related to this topic. And we would need a more central organization, a body where we can go, where everybody can coordinate. If we need to change building codes, if we find a problem that we are alerting on a higher government level, okay, this needs to be done. We will soon discuss about that. This is kind of similar what the European Union sometimes does. They put up a directive, it's mandatory for all the member states, and it's up to the member states to implement it. If we would have something, even on a local level, that one body says, okay, we have to go in this way, and all the ministries, all the other bodies need to implement it. Would be an interesting trial. We need more regional cooperation. The countries in the Middle East face a lot of similar problems, a lot of similar environmental conditions, and I believe it makes a lot of sense to work together, to put our resources and capacities together in one pool and make it happen for the whole region. This would also support harmonization of standards and regulations in the region, which is also a big concern for the industry, because if you have to comply to different sets of standards, you are actually losing out on energy efficiency, because we get lost. Last but not least, and perhaps the most important one, is Eurovent Middle East has been founded with the intention to foster collaboration and cooperation. Please feel invited, work together with us, join us, make sure that we put our minds on the same roads. Eurovent Middle East is a neutral organization which is not representing anyone's interest except the general interest to further talks, exchange, understanding, and expertise. Thank you very much.